The first time Aisha stood in front of a mirror, practicing English, her voice cracked like brittle glass. She was 28, a refugee from a war-torn village in Somalia, now living in a cramped Minneapolis apartment. The words felt heavy, foreign, like stones she couldn't swallow. "Hello, my name is Aisha," she whispered, her accent thick, her heart pounding. She'd fled bombs and hunger, but nothing terrified her more than the thought of speaking English in a room full of strangers. In her new home, fluency wasn't just a skill. It was survival, connection, a key to a life she dreamed of but couldn't yet touch. Aisha's days were a blur of survival. She worked nights cleaning offices, her hands raw from bleach, her mind racing with phrases she'd scribbled in a tattered notebook. "How are you? Can you help me?" She'd left behind a family, a language, a world where her voice carried weight. Here, she felt invisible, her broken English a wall between her and the bustling city around her. But Aisha was stubborn. She'd survived too much to let fear win. Every morning, she listened to English radio, mimicking the host's cadence. Every evening, she read children's books aloud, her tongue wrestling with unfamiliar sounds. Progress was slow, like carving a path through stone. One chilly October morning, Aisha saw a flyer at the community center, "Free English Conversation Club, all welcome." Her stomach twisted. A room full of people, all listening to her stumble? She almost walked away. But then she thought of her mother, who'd taught her to face fear with a straight back. "You are enough," her mother's voice echoed. Aisha signed up. The first meeting was a disaster. She sat in a circle of strangers, retirees, immigrants, students, all chatting easily. When it was her turn to speak, her mind went blank. My name." "Aisha," she stammered, her face burning. Silence followed, heavy and suffocating. She wanted to vanish. But then an older woman named Ellen, with silver hair and kind eyes, leaned forward. "Aisha, that's a beautiful name. Tell us one thing you love." Her voice was gentle, like a hand pulling Aisha from deep water. Aisha took a breath. "I love cook food from my home." The words were clumsy, but Ellen smiled. "I'd love to try your cooking someday." The group nodded, and for the first time Aisha felt seen. Ellen became Aisha's lifeline. A retired teacher, she volunteered at the club, staying late to help Aisha practice. She corrected her gently, laughed at her small victories, and shared stories of her own struggles learning Spanish years ago. "Language isn't just words," Ellen said. "It's heart. You've got plenty of that." Aisha clung to those words, repeating them when doubt crept in. She started speaking more, her voice growing steadier, her sentences longer. The club became her sanctuary, a place where her accent wasn't a flaw but a story, but life wasn't kind. Aisha's hours at work were cut, and her rent loomed like a storm cloud. She skipped club meetings to pick up extra shifts, her notebook gathering dust. One night, exhausted, she overheard coworkers mocking her accent. "She sounds like she's underwater," one said, laughing. Aisha hid in the break room, tears stinging her eyes. The old fear roared back, "You'll never belong." She stopped practicing. What was the point? English felt like a mountain she'd never climb. Then came the twist she never saw coming. One evening, as Aisha scrubbed an office floor, her phone buzzed. It was Ellen. "Aisha, we miss you. I'm outside your building." Stunned, Aisha stepped into the cold to find Ellen holding a grocery bag. "I thought you might need a home-cooked meal," Ellen said, her breath visible in the frosty air. Inside the bag were ingredients for Somali samosas, Aisha's favorite. Aisha's throat tightened. "How you know this?" she asked. Ellen grinned. "I looked it up. Let's cook together." That night, over sizzling oil and dough, Aisha poured out her fears. Ellen listened, not interrupting, just nodding. When Aisha finished, Ellen said, "You're not failing. You're learning. And you're not alone." Then she pulled out a flyer for a storytelling event at the community center. They need voices like yours, Ellen said. People need to hear your story. Aisha shook her head. Speak in public? Impossible. But Ellen's belief was a spark, and Aisha couldn't extinguish it. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Ellen helped Aisha write her story, practicing every word. Aisha's voice shook, but she kept going, fueled by Ellen's faith and the memory of her mother's courage. The night of the event, the community center was packed, faces young and old, from every corner of the world. Aisha's heart thundered as she took the stage. She looked at Ellen in the front row, who gave her a nod. Aisha began, "My name is Aisha. I come from Somalia. My home, it was war. I lose much. But I come here to learn to live." Her voice wavered, but she pushed on, telling of her journey, her fears, and the kindness that kept her going. The room was silent, every eye on her. When she described Ellen's grocery bag, her voice broke. "She see me. She helped me speak. Because of her, I am here." She finished to thunderous applause, tears streaming down her face. Ellen was crying too, standing to hug her as the crowd cheered. That night changed everything. Aisha's story spread, inspiring others to join the club, to share their own voices. A local restaurant owner, moved by her words, offered her a job as a cook, where her sambusas became a hit. Aisha kept practicing English, not just for survival, but to connect, to inspire. She realized fluency wasn't about perfect grammar. It was about courage, about sharing her heart. Years later, Aisha stood in front of a new conversation club, now as a volunteer. A shy teenager from Vietnam stammered through his introduction, his face flushed. Aisha leaned forward, her eyes kind. "That's a beautiful name," she said. "Tell us one thing you love." The boy smiled, and Aisha felt the spark pass on.